If you look up the word retirement in the dictionary, it talks about pulling back, standing down, and taking things easy. The mainstream media feeds us this fairy tale of endless golf courses, pristine gardens, and cruise ships. But let's have a bit of real talk. For the solo ager, the bloke entering his 60s without a partner, without a traditional family safety net nearby, or completely on his own, that fairy tale is a massive trap. It's not a permanent holiday. If you enter that phase of life without a clear plan, it can feel more like a sudden ambush. Statistics show that during the very first year of traditional retirement, a person's risk of suffering a stroke or a heart attack shoots up by 40% compared to when they are working. Think about that. For 40 years, your body and mind are used to a daily routine, a sense of purpose and a reason to get out of bed. Then, at clock out time on a Friday, the gates close. If you just sit down on the sofa and wait for life to happen, your system begins to stand down in ways that can be genuinely lethal. In the UK, we often hear the phrase "Billy no mates" used as a bit of a laugh or a schoolyard insult. But as we get older, solo aging is becoming a stark statistical reality for thousands of us. Some are solo by choice, some by the luck of the draw. Today, we're going to strip away the fluff. We're going to look at the hard biological facts of what isolation does to the brain, the exact financial and legal logistics you need to lock down, and how to build a lifestyle that keeps the old man firmly out. Let's start with the mental shift, what I call the identity ambush. Throughout your life, your utility defines your existence. Whether you are a site foreman, an engineer, a manager, or spent years behind the wheel of a Class 1 heavy goods vehicle, you had a title. You knew exactly who you were when you put up your boots in the morning. Your mind was disciplined by the sheer structure of the job. But what happens when the structure disappears? If you don't actively replace that old work title with a new sense of utility, your self-confidence can take a massive hit. It's not just a case of feeling a bit bored or lost on a Tuesday afternoon. It is literally identity loss. As a semi-invert living in Scotland, I am perfectly content with my own company. I don't need a massive social circle or a busy pub night to feel fulfilled. But being content with quiet times is very different from drifting into aimlessness. The human mind needs a why, or it will eventually turn on itself. If you're a solo ager, you have to become the commanding officer of your own time. You need to pivot your utility. That means becoming a mentor, getting involved in a niche community project, taking up advanced language learning, or doing what I'm doing right now, building a creative outlet and a legacy through content creation. If you don't give your brain a complex problem to solve every single morning, the rot sets in. And as the latest neuroscience shows, that rot is not just psychological, it's physical. When people talk about loneliness, they treat it like a bad mood or a temporary emotional slump. But the medical data tells a much more serious story. The physiological impact on the body is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It triggers direct atrophy in the hippocampus, the area of your brain responsible for short-term memory and spatial navigation. Think of your brain's executive function, your ability to plan ahead, prioritize tasks, and manage your daily life like a busy air traffic control tower. You are constantly engaged with the world, learning new things, and have meaningful back and forth conversations with people. The radar is working perfectly, the signals are bright, and the system is sharp. But chronic isolation shuts down the radar screen. Without regular stimulation, your mental pilot loses contact with the tower. Your body's stress response system goes into overdrive, releasing constant trickles of cortisol because it perceives being totally alone as a state of vulnerability. Over months and years, this chronic stress causes inflammation, speeds up the cognitive decline, and weakens your immune system. Social engagement is a luxury or a soft option for a rainy day. It is a basic biological requirement to keep your neural pathways firing. If you let the tower go dark, you are flying completely blind into your later years. In previous generations, the traditional family unit was the default safety net. The unwritten rule was that you would hold the watch while your kids grew up, and when you got a bit older and shaky, the children would step in and take over the watch for you. But we live in a completely different world now. Families are smaller, more spread out, and far more fragmented. Take my own situation, for example. I have one son. He is currently studying at university. He's a brilliant lad, sharp as a tack, but he belongs to a generation that is global. By the time I officially retire in November 2027, he'll be carving out his own career in the digital world that could take him anywhere across the globe. Relying on the old traditional model of the kids will look after me isn't just unrealistic, it's unfair. In modern sociology, the concept of role inversion refers to older parents supporting the adult children financially or emotionally for much longer than expected. It places a heavy drain on your own resources and creates what doctors call the allostatic load, the physical wear and tear caused by chronic, long-term stress. If you're a solo ager, you have to look at your current reality squarely in the face. If I happen to have a fall in my house or face a sudden health scare, my immediate family is halfway across the country or living overseas. Who is the local go-to? If your honest answer right now to no one, you have a significant tactical gap in your life. You cannot leave your well-being to chance or rely on the hope that a neighbour might notice your post piling up. You have to build a modern, international strategy. Statistically, the vast majority of men pass away while still married, meaning they have a built-in partner to manage the complex logistics of a physical or mental decline. But when you are solo, you are the commanding officer, the lead scout, and the admin team all rolled into one. You need your paperwork and your finances to be absolutely bulletproof long before you hit your 70s. Traditional financial advisors always tell people to keep 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash. That advice is for traditional families with dual incomes. As a solo ager, if you face a sudden illness or gap in your income, there is no second salary to bail you out. You need 12 to 18 months of highly liquid cash secured in a solid, accessible account. You will need a lasting power of attorney, an LPA. This is the most critical document you will ever sign. You need a registered LPA for both financial and health and welfare. You must understand how a springing or conditional clause works, meaning the document can only be used if medical professionals formally certify that you have lost mental capacity. There is a professional advocate option. If you genuinely don't have a trusted relative or close friend to appoint as your attorney, you do not leave it to the state. Instead, you instruct a professional solicitor, an independent financial advisor, or a specialist trust firm to act as your professional fiduciary. You pay them to execute your wishes exactly as you've written them down. How about care fund strategy? By the time we reach 75, a good percentage of us will require some form of independent supported living or residential care. You need to sit down with your figures, understand your retirement budget, and look at asset protection models now while your mind is perfectly sharp. If you don't take the time to designate exactly who speaks for you when you can no longer speak for yourself, the local authority or the state will step in and appoint a complete stranger from the council to run your bank accounts, your health care, and your life. Don't go into your later years with your admin exposed. So how do we actively fight back against the risk of isolation? We build what is called an intentional community. We move away from the idea of being a total lone wolf, and we look at structured options like the village model, where you stay in your own home belong to a dedicated local support network or purpose-built retirement villages where community and independent living coexist. But you can also launch a direct counter-ambush by forcing your brain into an entirely new environment. In early 2028, following my retirement, I am undertaking a 6-month scouting and reconnaissance trip to Southeast Asia, focusing on bases like Thailand, Cambodia and Malaysia. This isn't a holiday to sit on the beach and waste time, it's an intentional skillcation. When you drop yourself into a complete new culture, navigate foreign transport systems, learn to read a different script and master the complex tonal structures of a language like Thai, your brain goes into overdrive. It activates your frontal lobe and forces your hippocampus to map out entirely new neural pathways. Even the change in diet makes a huge difference. I tend to concentrate on PF-free food, spicy meals, and this change in the diet will have a massive effect on my overall health. You are essentially interrupting the predictable comfort patterns that cause the brain to slow down. It is a real-world, high-intensity brain training that lowers your biological age far better than these smartphone apps you can download. You stay sharp because you choose to stay in the game. The mission for any solo ager is incredibly straightforward. Protect your identity by constantly finding a new purpose. Shield your brain structure by staying mentally and socially active. Secure your admin logistics with a rock-solid financial buffer and legal powers of attorney. And finally, build your new squad through formal community networks. Being solo does not mean you have to be solitary. Independence is a brilliant thing, but without a clear parameter and a solid logistical plan, you are simply leaving yourself exposed to the clock. If you were taken ill tomorrow morning, who is the person who handles your recovery? If you don't have a definite name written down on paper, then you don't have a plan. I want to hear from you in the comments below. How are you managing your own retirement logistics? What steps have you taken to secure your power of attorney or find your new purpose? Let's talk about it. Get your kit together, stay sharp, stay connected, and I'll see you on the next briefing.